Good morning. My name is Ben Meter, and I work on Diageo's market intelligence team. Today I'm going to walk you through a strategic analysis of the Iowa liquor market and what it tells us about Diageo's competitive position, our growth opportunities, and where we should be investing next. We've got 30 minutes, but I'm going to get through all of the content in about 10 to save plenty of time for discussion and questions. Iowa is a state-controlled market, which means every wholesale transaction is publicly recorded. That gives us something most companies never get, a full transaction level view of what our competitors are selling, where, and at what price. This analysis covers 12 million records from 2019 through November 2023. I organized this analysis around 5 questions that I think matter most for our business. Where do we stand relative to competitors? When do sales peak and what drives seasonality? Which categories define our business? What do consumers buy and at what price point? And finally, where are our biggest geographic strengths and opportunities? Each of these questions has a clear answer in the data. Let me take you through them all. Before diving into the findings, a quick note on data. This comes directly from the Iowa Data Portal and includes every regulated wholesale transaction between distributors and retailers. It covers all vendors, products, categories, store locations, bottle volumes, and prices. All revenue figures are calculated at wholesale cost, which gives us a view of revenue. The one exception is the analysis of price points, which looks at the prices consumers see on the shelves. One important note, for full year comparisons, I focused on 2019 through 2022 to avoid the partial year distortion from missing December 2023's data. As you'll see in a few slides, December is a critical month for sales. As part of this analysis, I also excluded returns, which were rare. With that, let's get into it. Diageo is a clear revenue leader in Iowa. We generated nearly $270 million over this period and have a 20.1% market share. Our closest two competitors, Sazerac and Jim Beam, sold $163 million and $97 million, respectively. But the more interesting story is on the right side of this slide. Sazerac actually moved 500,000 more liters than we did. Yet, they generated $105 million less in revenue. This gap is entirely explained by price. On average, our cost per liter is just over $16.50. Sazerac's is around $9.25. We are selling a fundamentally different product at a fundamentally different price point, and as you'll see in the next slide, the market is rewarding us for it. Globally, there's a trend toward premiumization across consumer goods segments, with consumers buying more expensive items even if they're buying fewer of them. We are also seeing this in the Iowa spirits market. From 2019 to 2022, the total market grew at a modest 5.7%, but the average price per liter grew 16.4%. Consumers are trading up to higher quality spirits, and that trend is structural, not temporary. Diageo's wins when consumers trade up. Our portfolio is built for exactly this environment. The pandemic was an important stress test for the broader premiumization trend. In 2020, when people were stocking up and economic uncertainty was high, the rest of the market surged by 15.4%, while Diageo grew only 6.5%. Consumers temporarily traded down to value brands and products like Tito's. But as normalcy returned in 2021 and 2022, competitor volumes contracted while Diageo's continued to grow. The pandemic spike was situational and value-driven. This data suggests our growth is structural and value-driven. That distinction matters as we make long-term portfolio decisions. Now let's talk about when consumers buy. The data shows a clear seasonal pattern with a very sharp cliff. December is the peak, and January brings a 32% revenue drop. That is not just fewer bottles. Consumers are actively trading down to cheaper products after the holiday spending surge. This creates three distinct windows that should drive our marketing calendar. In Q4, we should push our most premium products. In Q1, we need to shift and lead with our value tier offerings that match consumers' preferences after the holiday surge. And in summer, there is a secondary peak driven by social occasions. This is where spiced rum and ready-to-drink formats perform well. When you look at which categories define our Iowa business, two stand out immediately: spiced rum and Canadian whiskeys. Together, they account for the majority of our revenue, and our market share positions in both are dominant: 78% in spiced rums and 51% in Canadian whiskey. These are our fortress categories. They fund everything else we do, and that means they require an active defense. Marketing science is clear about the importance of dominance, like we have in these two categories. It drives profitability and funds growth. Defending this fortress is critical. On the other end of the spectrum, American vodka is a massive category at nearly $200 million in total market sales between 2019 and November 2023. But our share there was only 10%. And the margins are thin at less than $7.50 per liter. This is a volume play, and it is not where our portfolio is built to win. The most exciting story from this analysis is 100% agave tequila. This category grew by 114% between 2019 and 2022, the fastest growth of any prominent category in the market. At the same time, we are gaining share, as you can see from this line graph. In 2019, Patron Silver held 34% of the category. We held 14%. By 2022, Patron Silver had dropped to 24%, and we had risen to 25%, meaning that we've caught up to the market-leading product. And there's more good news. This is a high-margin category at nearly $28 per liter, the second highest in our portfolio. And we already hold 5 of the top 8 products in this category in Iowa. Continuing to grow share in this growing category is key. This slide confirms that our portfolio is already concentrated in the most profitable product configurations. Nearly half of the market, over 45%, buy bottles priced above $20. In that premium segment, our share is 29.2%, well above our 20.1% overall average. On the volume side, the dominant format is 500 to 750 milliliter bottles, with over 43% of market sales. Our share in this size range is 21.4%, again above average. So the sweet spot for us is premium priced, mid-sized formats. Now let's look at where we win and where we do not. Given our size, our sales team can cover the 100 largest stores by volume in the state. I analyzed these stores to see where we're performing best from a market share perspective and where there are opportunities. This map shows where our opportunity stores are clustered, which is around Des Moines and east on I-80. This data is likely an indication that our smaller rivals have concentrated their smaller sales teams in the most densely populated part of the state, and it is paying off for them. Collectively, these 5 opportunity counties hold over 40% of Iowa's population. Reallocating regional sales resources may enable us to win Iowa's urban centers. Let's step back from the data to see what it all means for our business. Here are 4 key actions we can take. First, defend the fortress. Spiced rum and Canadian whiskeys drive profitability and fund our growth bets. We can't cede ground here. Second, accelerate 100% agave tequila. This category is growing fast and the margins are excellent. Patron Silver is vulnerable. Third, win the urban core. We need to address the challenges we are seeing in the largest stores in Des Moines and along the I-80 corridor. Urban consumers are trendsetters, and we must win among the largest populations. And fourth, master the calendar. Align our product mix and promotions to the predictable seasonal cycle we have identified. Push premium products in Q4, lead with value in Q1, and activate spiced rum and ready-to-drink options in the summer. I've already given you a lot of information, so I'm not going to cover the appendix in detail. I'll email this group the slides and a list of the stores along the I-80 corridor for your sales teams to target. If you want to understand more about the data or review relevant marketing research about premiumization or the importance of dominant products, I've included those details in citations. So I'll open the door for you all for questions and discussion. Thank you.